Witch Please is one of the best pieces of fiction I have read in the last several years. It has an interesting plot, it has intrigue, and believe it or not, it has some really good life lessons that I think we should talk about in today's video. Hey everyone, welcome back. I am the Part-Time Economist, and in today's video, we are talking all about the book Witch Please. Now, before you click off the video, I do want to give you a heads up. I am not going to spoil any details in the book without giving you plenty of warning. So again, there will be spoilers, but not without warning. So first off, we're going to talk about the big picture overview of the book. Then again, after giving you plenty of warning, we'll talk about why this book was so insightful, why I loved it, and why I thought the author just did an absolutely fantastic job. So with that being said, let's talk big picture. Again, no spoilers here. This is essentially what you would get if you just flipped the book over and read the back cover. So big picture, this book is all about making a choice to either stay with what is familiar, with what is comfortable, with what is easy, or risk giving all of that up to follow our heart and what we know is right. So to put that in the context of the book, the central character is a witch named Danica. Now, Danica's family each gets some kind of superpower that is passed down throughout the generations. Danica just so happens to have this magical ability to fix electronics. So her and her cousin, they live in this charming small little town where they fix electronics, and that's pretty much her life. She hangs out with her sisterhood of witches, like everything is just kind of flowing along. Now, the interesting thing about her magical power is that if she ever marries someone that is not a witch, there is a legend that she will lose her superpower. And that's totally fine with her because she just got out of a really bad relationship. The guy did not appreciate her, so she has no intention of dating, let alone marrying anyone. Until one day, she is in her fix-it shop, and oh my goodness, guess who walks in? Steamy McDreamy. Not only is this guy like a 10 on physical attractiveness, he has a heart of gold. He is like the total package. He owns a bakery. He knows what type of flavor combos she likes and designs special recipes just for her. Did I mention he's a volunteer firefighter? Literally on his off time, he's saving cats out of trees, helping little old ladies, right? Not only is this guy, like I said, super physically attractive, like the whole town will go to his bakery when they know he's working just to catch a glimpse of him. Yeah. So he's physically attractive, but again, he's not egotistic. He is like the total package, just an incredible 10 out of 10. And Danica says, you know what? I just got out of this really bad relationship. It could be great to have a rebound, something to kind of get my mind off of that. So she goes and she says, you know what? This could be fun, right? And I will keep it PG. But if you read the book, I want to give you a disclaimer. There are some adult themes, and it is very clear that they have some serious chemistry, okay? Not just physical, but how they think, how they act like. It's very clear that there could be something more than just a couple dates between them. And for most people, you would think that's a good thing. But Danica is like, oh my goodness, this is a problem because I don't want to lose my magic. And on top of that, my grandmother, she does not like anyone that is not a witch. So she's going to be very upset if she knows what's going on. So it comes time for her to make a decision. Do I cut this relationship off? Do I hurt someone that is like pure gold, the best person that's ever come into my life? Do I cut him off? Do I hurt him? Or do I not cut him off? Do I pursue this relationship and risk losing the sisterhood of witches, my magical ability, getting in trouble with grandma, right? So this is the decision that she has to make. Now, from here forward, we're going to be talking about spoilers. So if you stick around, you are going to hear about the spoilers. This is your last warning. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go with the spoilers. So as I said, Danica has to make this decision. Do I pursue Titus? That's the name of the baker, Steamy McDreamy. Do I pursue Titus or do I cut him off? And like I said, she really likes this guy. So she tries to just gently ease him out of her life, right? Kind of the whole ghosting thing a little bit. But again, she's not doing this to be mean. She's doing this because she starts to notice weird things going on. Like I said, Grandma is a very powerful witch, and she does not like people that are not witches. So Danica starts to think, hey, things aren't adding up. Maybe she's cursing Titus. Maybe she's gonna do bad things to him, right? So she's like, I don't want this to happen. Again, because I love Titus, I don't want to hurt him. So the best thing, even though I don't want to do it, is to break up with him. So again, she tries to just gently nudge him out of her life, but it's not working. For example, one of the spells that she's trying to do, she ends up causing a minor fire with her candles. And again, there's no one hurt or anything like that. But guess which firefighter comes to investigate? You guessed it. Titus, aka the bakery man, aka Steamy McDreamy, shows up there on her doorstep, right? So this clearly isn't working. So things keep building. She's like, okay, I have got to cut this off. She is a very cold, callous breakup, like, hey, we're done. And it's just not pretty, right? And again, she's doing this because she feels she has to protect him. So as I'm reading this, it's like breaking my heart because she is doing something that she doesn't want to do, something that she knows she's losing someone that is, like I said, has a heart of gold, and she's doing that to protect them. But she can't tell him that she's doing it for that reason, right? So she has to make herself out as a jerk to protect him from harm, which I think is incredibly noble on her part. But again, it's something where you can see why that's so hard on her. And obviously it's hard on him because again, he's done nothing wrong. He's literally the perfect guy. And he's like, why isn't this working out? So she does the breakup and she goes into a total tailspin for the next week or something. Like she is a total mess. Well, one day, she overhears a rumor that Titus, the bakery man, is leaving the state. Now, it's the rumor mill. Things kind of get twisted around. The rumor is that he's basically leaving forever. And she's like, you know what? This cannot happen. I am not going to let my grandmother curse him like this. He is an innocent person, and if she is driving him out of the state after I've already broken up, that is a step too far. So she calls her grandmother, basically tells her off, says, look, you do not do this to innocent people. I already broke up with him, and by the way, you've been trying to control me way too much. I want to be with this man, even if it means losing my magic, right? So she kind of tells grandmother off, right? And she flies out, she patches things up with Titus, they move forward, right? So that's the big picture spoiler, but now I want to talk about the life lessons and why I thought the author did an amazing job with the book. So when it comes to the life lessons here, the entire premise of this book and the source of conflict is that if Danica dates or marries, I should say, if she marries a mundane, which is what they call the people that don't have magical powers, if she marries a mundane, she will supposedly lose her magic. And she thinks there's proof of that because her mother supposedly doesn't have magic. So all of Danica's actions are founded on this assumption that if she marries a mundane, she loses her magic. Now, here's where things get interesting. Once she tells grandmother off, once she makes that choice to go be with Titus, right? Once she makes that decision, she has come to peace with, hey, maybe I lose my magical powers, but this is right for me. Now, things get interesting because after making that decision, she goes to visit her mom, and they get to talking, and it turns out that mom never lost her magic. She just has a different type of magic. So instead of fixing electronics, she is really good with plants and gardening and things like that, right? So mom has had this magic the entire time, despite being married to a mundane, someone that doesn't have magic. Now, this never came up. This was never something that Danica said, hey, I should ask my mom if this is true, right? So that's kind of the first life lesson that I took from the book was a lot of times when we're making a decision, if we're not making that decision based on the most accurate information, obviously it's going to hamper our decision-making ability. But why? Why are we not getting all the information, right? What would it have hurt Danica to ask her mother about this, right? There's a lot of times where we don't want to ask things, but having that information could prevent a lot of hardship for us. So that was kind of my first takeaway. And again, I know it's a fiction book, so I'm not saying that because it happened in a fiction book, it's a life rule, but in my own experience, I think that makes intuitive sense. Point number 2, and this is another big one for me, is that once Danica made that decision to essentially tell off her grandmother to say, this is what's right for me, I know this is right, once she made that decision, not only did she have a sense of peace, but everything else started to fall into place. And again, I know this is just an author being a good author, but I think that has a lot of parallels to our everyday life as well. Once we make a decision, once we make a commitment to go forward with something, then sometimes it's easier to see that path ahead. I know me specifically, I will agonize over choice A, choice B. And what I've come to realize is that sometimes it's, of course, important to do our information, make sure we're doing an informed decision, but at some point, we're never gonna 100% know the answer. We have to make a choice, and sometimes it's better to make a choice based on the best available information. Even if we don't like that choice, we can course correct. We can go back. We can change our mind, right? Maybe we try something for a week, and then we go to the other option, right? We've only lost a week's worth of time versus spending months or years agonizing over a decision. So that was kind of the second takeaway from the book. And then the thing that I really, really wanted to give the author credit for was how well they did about incorporating plot twists while still respecting the plot. And what I mean by that is that I've watched TV series where the plot twists are just one after another, and it's kind of like every outcome in the story is just a flip of a coin, right? They're going to get back together one week, then they're going to break up the next, right? And it doesn't make sense. So what I really liked about this book is that, like I said, there were plot twists, but they made sense in the context of the story. So at one point, Danica casts this spell for letting go of things, right? And the idea is that she will let go of Titus, Titus will let go of her, and they can have that kind of smooth breakup. That's what you're thinking. However, that's not how things play out. So this spell for letting go, she actually casts that, and then later on, she has that situation where she tells her grandmother off, right? And the author never explicitly says, oh, this spell worked this way instead. But if you're reading the story, you can kind of see like, okay, she cast this spell for moving on, and she wasn't moving on from Titus. She wasn't moving on from her intuition. She wasn't moving on from what she knew was right. She was moving on from these societal expectations, from this pressure of her grandmother, right? So it was good that she was moving on, but it wasn't the way we expected. At the same time, Titus, he's had a really rocky relationship with his dad and his step family. And there was just a lot of resentment there. And after Danica casts this spell, things just kind of seem better for him, right? He's like, you know what? It's never going to be the same as mom and dad used to be, but maybe I could still enjoy it. Maybe it's not something that I have to completely resent. Again, this one letting go spell has two different plot twists, but that still make context in the sense of the story, right? So it's not just something out of the blue. Overall, I thought it was a fantastic book. Like I said, I know it's fiction, but oh my goodness, seeing that dilemma that Danica was going through, that breakup between her and Titus, like it was pulling on my heart. So the author did a really good job there. They did a really good job with the plot. And then how they closed up the book and brought everything together, I mean, it was absolutely perfect. And I say that to say that even if the author was to write a sequel to this book, I don't think I would want to read it. Not because I think the author would have a terrible next book or anything like that, but just because I thought this was closed out so perfectly, right? I've seen a lot of TV shows, series where they bring it to a good end and it's just kind of like, you had a great closing point. Why do you need to make another, right? So if the author writes a sequel, I would hope that it's like a different theme or a different aspect. Like I just cannot go through Danica and Titus having another heartbreak. Like, I just can't handle it. So yeah, that's my review. I thought it was a fantastic book. If you have read it and there's kind of one of those plot twists that you noticed or something that you thought the author did really well that you want to point out, feel free to leave it down in the comments. As always, I do appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.